Hello and welcome to 5-Minute Math. Today we are looking at the Algebra 1 concept of determining slope. This is standard A.3A in the great state of Texas, and we are using item number 51 of the 2018 released STAAR test. If you haven't done so already, please go ahead and take a moment to pause the video, work this problem out on your own, unpause it, and we will look at our answers together. So we have a line that passes through these 2 points, and we simply need to find the slope. Well, what we want to do here is we want to use this particular formula. This is our formula for slope. We've been looking at this since about the 7th grade, right? So slope is the change in y over the change in x. So to help us kind of keep that straight, sometimes we'll say rise over run. So really what we're talking about here is we need to take two different y coordinates, subtract them. As long as they're on the same line, that's going to work. And then those corresponding x coordinates, subtract those, make sure the y is on top, the x is in the denominator, and there we go. Now here's the interesting thing. It really doesn't matter which is going to be your x1 and which is going to be your x2 or your y1 and y2. So let's label them, and let's just say this 5 is going to be my x1, negative 11 is going to be my y1. They do have to be a pair together. I can't have within one ordered pair, one of them be an x1 and the other one be a y2. That won't work. So that's going to be x2 and that's going to be y2. But I want to do it both ways for you to see that it really doesn't matter. So now that we've labeled them, let's see, our y2 is 17. Minus our y1 is negative 11. So minus negative 11 is going to end up being addition. And then my x2 is negative 9 minus 5. Okay, so that's going to end up being negative on bottom. So a negative and negative, like I said, that's addition. So that's going to end up being 28 over negative 9 minus 5. So it's like adding two negatives. It's like negative 14. Okay, so there we go. So that's going to end up being negative 28 over 14, or 28 over negative 14, doesn't really matter. There's one negative, so your answer is negative, and you just double 14 to get 28. So here's my answer, negative 2. Now, like I said, doesn't make any difference if I swap them. Well, let me show you that it doesn't. So I'm going to make 5 my x2. I'm going to make negative 11 my y2. Now I'm going to make negative 9 my x1, and 17 my y1. So remember, we're still going to do change in y over change in x. What you're going to find is everything stays the same, except I had the negative 14, right? It's just going to now end up on the top in the numerator. All right, so my y2 is going to be negative 11. My y1 is going to be 17. So you notice how that's going to be negative, whereas in the past it was positive. And then I've got my x2, so that's going to be 5. And then my minus, and then my x1 is negative 9. So you notice how it was negative 14, but now I'm going to have two negatives, which make a positive. So I've got negative 11 minus 17, right? So that's going to be negative 28. 5 minus negative 9, that's really like 5 plus 9. That's your 14. So you notice the difference here. Now my negative is on top. But at the end, it's still 28 divided by 14, right? So that's still going to equal negative 2. So it doesn't matter which way you go. If you end up with one positive, one negative, if you switch the x and the y, you will just flip where the positive and negative are numerator denominator. If they're both positive, then if you change the x1, y1 with the x2, y2, then they'll end up both being negative. And if you end up having both negative, remember that's still going to equal a positive. But it doesn't really matter which order you do it. Either way you look at it, our answer here is going to be A, the slope of the line that passes through these 2 points is negative 2.